Hey, I've been, just not recording. But didn't want to throw grease on the fire, especially regarding the Iran war, or the war on Iran by the United States and Israel, because that's basically what it is. Israel wanted to go to war with Iran, and as Netanyahu thinks that the end is near for his regime, and he's probably right. So he's doing as much damage as he can, and Trump went along for the ride. So, um, yeah. And they had hoped that the recent protests in Iran would benefit from an external attack. Like that's never happened before. Hasn't. So they're hoping that Iran's more like Rome than um, like Germany in the 1930s. When you screw with somebody, the population tends to go with them. So yeah, so that's that. Um, but I mean, in Russia, I don't know what's going on with Russia and Ukraine because the on the pro-Ukraine blogosphere, the end is supposed to be near for Putin, but I don't see it. Um, they say the same thing, but I don't see that this is happening, but might be. Um, the end may be near for Putin. So his tiny little butt's going to be overthrown as they're hitting Moscow too hard. They're probably a little more. They're trying not to kill people, I think, whereas the Russians with their drone war are trying to kill people and doing a really lousy job at it. I mean, it's like their drone strikes are getting kind of pathetic. One person was killed. Huh? That's an awful waste of missiles. If you really want to, yeah. So that's the war front. But it's and people have forgotten about Gaza. Um, I haven't. God hasn't. So even in a universe where God does not hold grudges individually, he certainly lets things happen in nations who do stuff shit like this. So um, yeah, the only thing that can save Israel's bacon is for the peace majority to make Gaza whole, um, or make Gaza part of Israel and the Gazans, you know, full citizens. Because these are the people, if you want some history, people of Gaza were citizens of Palestine who didn't leave Palestine. They took refuge in a territory. In fact, all the Palestinians in occupied territories were actually lived in what's Israel, um, which is now Israel. And they have no place else to go. I mean, some people went to Jordan, um, but the majority of them were, um, and they weren't Philistines. The Philistines were Greeks anyway. If you can prove that they're Greeks, then they were Philistines because that's where the Philistines came from was Greece as part of the Sea Peoples, and they were absorbed in the local population. So, there's no such thing as a Philistine anymore, unless you want to give, you know, the whole thing to Greece. I mean, that's an option. Give it back to the Byzantine Empire. Well, that's what the Byzantine Empire um, was is the source of the Ottoman Empire, and it's which was the source of after World War I was the source of the current imbroglio. So, yeah. Um, so it still goes back to God will take care of sorting things out, which is not good news for the old home world, for those of us who have patrilineal Jewish ancestry, which is not honored by the state of Israel. You have to have maternal heritage and be Orthodox rather than being Reform. Not that I would start going to synagogue just to get a piece of desert in the, even if it's a well irrigated desert, it's still a desert. Why, it's a crossroads. Why? Yeah, there's some parts of the world I won't go to, just because the environment is like harsh. I mean, yeah, Israel's beautiful because it's been irrigated, but so's Arizona. It's too hot in Arizona right now because of global warming. So I don't see the attraction. It's like living in Greece or Turkey. It's in the hot zone. Go back to San Antonio. I'll go back to my homeland. And I tried that. And I realized I didn't live there anymore. It's kind of, you go back to some place and it's the same but different. Even the park where they had a little train is going. They changed the direction of the train. So it's at least I think they did. The park looks totally different. To my eyes anyway. It may not have changed at all, but the mall is different. The Joskies is now a Dillard's, if Dillard's is even around anymore. So it's a mall, and malls are dying. Although the Northfield Mall may still be existing in San Antonio. I don't know. I haven't been back there since my daughter was 2. And she's 22 now, so. For some reason, 20 years of not going home, this time is not as harsh as the 30 years that I wasn't at home the first time. So, yeah. But this idea of going home, I mean, I am home right now. I've lived in this apartment now for almost 10 years. I've never lived anywhere else in a room for that long. I'm getting sedentary in my old age. Whereas Trump, Netanyahu, and Putin are getting violent in their old age. They're not only are they not going gently into the night, but they're messing up the room. Leaving their diapers off and taking a dump on the world. But that's not why I'm recording, although I've taken up half my time, although I guess I don't have I'm no longer news, so I can post longer videos. So this is going to be a longer video about yesterday's insanity and, the insanity of this attempted estoppel by Todd Blanche. He's never going to get approved. He will stay acting. They may impeach him. Although, can you impeach somebody who's just acting? That's an interesting question. He's never going to get approved, confirmed as Attorney General. So, the question is how long can he sit in that job until somebody gets rid of him and overturns any of his actions. So, yeah, but let's go to yesterday's insanity. It's effectively estoppel if it stands. Meaning, when the government, however erroneously says, oh yeah, this is legal. Oh yeah, well you can, well this is, you can count on it. You can. Uh, Although I don't think estoppel allows corruption. So, and that's what this is. The what's called the domestic emollients clause. When they were using it to put people up in Trump's hotels on official travel, that was on the line, but it was really, again, it's estoppel. It's not justification that the people who signed off on the appropriateness of the finance had something to pay to look at, and they said, okay, we can certify these funds and not go to jail. And nobody, as far as I know, was willing to resign because they wouldn't sign off on the certification for that travel. So there was a hook that allowed all kinds of payments that benefited the Trump organization's cost structure, even if technically the profits went to the Treasury. So, and those are failing businesses anyway. It's not like it's a long-term thing. And the crypto is just, Trump deciding he wants to get poor again. It's just, his crypto exchange is as secure a business as his casinos in Atlantic City. He just can't keep himself out of businesses that will fail. I mean, it's just amazing. It's the ultimate grift on yourself. You're setting up yourself to lose everything. So, private sector suits, are not stopped by anything the Department of Justice does. So, I mean, he's just made sure that this deal just makes sure that his private sector creditors will get everything. It stops the United States from getting everything, but if there are private sector creditors who win in fraud cases, that means they just get everything. So because you can't stop that with an executive order or a or a violation of the emoluments clause, which says that the president cannot be paid other than his salary. This essentially does that blatantly. So it's unconstitutional and it won't stand. The appointment of Blanches won't stand. The Republican majority won't stand. I mean, to the point of constitutional majorities. The next Democratic president, and the next president will probably be a Democrat, will just, all of this is gone. Trump will be jailed if he lives. He's thinking, I'm not going to live, and Putin's not going to live, and Xi's not going to live, and Netanyahu's not going to live. So why they're going out with a bang? They're taking it out. If I believed in hell, I'd say they were setting up an honor guard for hell, but they'll just be tragic historical figures. There's no way they've got any going to have any reputation 100 years from now. I mean, they're just going to be looked at as the worst people of the 21st century. So, although, I may be saying, hold my latte, so, and establish, some kind of utopian socialist international state. Hey, read my book. I'll tell you how. But yeah, it's what happened with this little agreement. The fact that a president can be given a lawsuit in his own favor, that he can settle a lawsuit for himself. It's not allowed. He will be impeached and he will be removed. Or he thinks he'll be dead. So it won't matter to him. But his kids won't get that money. Just they won't. Nor will they have that immunity. Although they will claim estoppel. And they may succeed on that. But since it's part of a corrupt agreement, I think the whole agreement fails. So estoppel will not carry. Blanchard's never going to be confirmed ever. So yeah, and he will be removed by he and Trump will be removed by the Senate in an impeachment, which is be easy to pass. I mean, easy to be done by the House. Third time's a charm. I mean, Trump's lost the House. They will impeach him. And the Republicans are going to be spanked so badly in the Senate that any remaining senators know that if they want to keep their jobs if they're up for election in 2028, they will vote with the Democrats. So, yeah, there will be 67 seats. This action yesterday has guaranteed that there will be 67 seats, including Republicans. It's like what Goldwater said to Nixon. When Nixon asked, how many votes are against me? And he goes, or how many votes do I have? And he goes, Goldwater said rather famously, there are 12 people who will vote with you, and I'm not one of them. And Nixon resigned. This is that kind of thing. So, yeah. What was a doubtful third time's a charm is now pretty certain. Because there's just not going back for this. This is, it wasn't health care, or it wasn't the Social Security thing, or even the Iraq War that led to the 2006 decimation of Republican majorities. It was the corruption. It was the Jack Abramoff situation. It was the Foley page turning incident. It's corruption in office dooms Republicans. Just like going too far on taxing the rich dooms Democrats. So it's and the Democrats think, oh, our base, the richer parts of our base will leave us. It's like, no, the base goes along with tax increases. It's the dubious voters that go against them. So you might as well just do it, because you're going to lose it. You're going to lose anyway, or not. Especially if you get Citizens United repealed by constitutional amendment, you do that, and that's what's going to happen. If it wasn't going to happen before, it's going to happen now. So they've screwed capitalism by going too far. Capitalism always does this, by the way. They screw themselves. So yeah. And that's the news of the day. Have a pleasant day. Thanks for playing. Now it's just fallout. Hopefully it's not fallout because of the Iran war. But it's just going to be political fallout. So, as they say in Lettuce and Leverage, a long goodbye to you, Donald.